Hey everybody, Icy Cat here. Rainbow Six has been out for a little over a week and a half now, and we've already got some information on some updates and changes coming to the game soon. So just recently, the core developer team over at Ubisoft Montreal got together and hosted a Reddit Ask Me Anything session. They answered a lot of people's questions regarding things that they wanted to see coming in the game, as well as changes that were definitely happening, or things that they'd like to have happen, but are unsure if they'll come to pass or not. So let's go over some of this stuff. So the first thing on the list is increasing server stability, and that's going to be huge because right now there's a lot of crashes and errors and people get kicked out of games left and right. If you're not kicked out of a game, one of your squad mates is, and then it breaks up the squad, and it's just not the fun experience it needs to be. And everybody was asking about that. That's the number one thing on everybody's mind, and the devs are completely aware of that. They addressed it right away. They said they are addressing the server stability as well as latency, hit positioning, tick rate improvements, all of those kinds of things. And what they're doing is there's going to be a update in mid-December, so that's in like a week or two here, and they're going to commit to making a goal of having monthly updates every month thereafter. So we're going to see a committed long-term post-launch plan here, and that's really encouraging. Again, it's kind of a shame that these issues were present at launch. They were definitely there during the beta. Oh, were they there during the beta? But there's still some of these persistent issues kind of hanging around even with the game having launched. And they've got to get those ironed out. I think it'll hurt the competitive scene, especially if they don't. And other people might either give up on the game or hear bad things about the game and not give it a shot. So the sooner they get that ironed out, the better. They know that, though. They're working their butts off on it. They're working very hard on it. I've talked to some of the dev team, and I know exactly how hard they are working. And trust me, these guys are trying to provide the best game they possibly can, the best experience they possibly can. There's some people that are working some very long days and nights to try to get this all under control. I'm pretty confident that, we're only in our first week and a half here, that this is all going to be straightened out pretty soon. Somebody else wanted to know about connecting to the wrong data center. They said they were in one part of the country and they would be off in some other part where they shouldn't even be in that region, and that's where they were being routed through. The devs are aware of that, and they said they're working on a way to allow players to choose their own. Now, whether that makes a final implementation or not will remain to be seen, but allowing you to choose which data center you connect to should allow you to override any automatic routing that's resulting in some kind of an error like that and give you a better experience. Character limit for text chat on the PC was asked about. A lot of people thought it was too restrictive as far as the amount of text you could type, and they said that will be increasing to 128 characters in the next update. And again, that next update is coming in just a week or two here. Another thing that was asked about is if there was any current plans to make the tactical board an in-game integration. Now, for those of you that don't know, if you log on to the Rainbow Six Siege website and put in your Uplay ID, you can access the tactical board. And what that is it's sort of like a web-based planning phase where it gives you a map of each level, and you can choose which floor of the building you're looking at. Then you can drop icons for the attackers or the defenders. You can drop icons for using gadgets or for putting up traps or panels or barricades. And this allows you to kind of have a pre-planning thing, and you can make strategies that way and save out these different strategies. But it's all web-based, and they wanted to know if you could somehow integrate it into the game. They said at this time there's no current plans to do that. I really feel that this would be a strong tool to put into the game. Whether it was in a different menu or even if it was like you build it in the web-based browser, but you like export the JPEG of it and then it imports into the game through your Uplay account or something like that, so you can at least pull them up in game even if you build them in the browser. That would be cool. But as of now, there's no plans to do that. I hope that gets considered further down the road. Somebody else wanted to ask about Bartlett University and if that was coming soon to other modes. For those of you that don't know, Bartlett University is an 11th map that is only accessible by playing the Article 5 situation, which is a secret 11th situation. You have to complete the first 10 situations, and then the 11th one unlocks, and you play that. I'm not going to give away what it's about and what's going on in it. If you haven't seen it or experienced it, you need to check it out. Even if you don't like situations, this one is different than the other 10. It's completely unique. It has a completely different feel. In fact, most people feel like it's what campaign could have been like if they had chosen to go in that direction. And it's just a completely different tone than the other situations or anything else that's in the game. And that map is not available in Terrorist Hunt, and it's not available in Player versus Player. So they are bringing it soon to the other game modes, and I mean, rightly so. When they were asked about how many maps were in their game originally, months back, they said there's 11 maps in our game, and they said it was available in all modes and game types. I'm sure the plan was all along to bring this to the other modes, but not having it there at launch feels a little weird, because I think that's what everybody assumed they meant. But I would assume that if they say they're releasing that would be pretty soon. I would guess that would come well before the Black Ice DLC, which is scheduled for next month. In fact, it could even come before Christmas. So we'll see, but that's definitely going to expand into the other modes as well here pretty soon. Another question that was asked a lot was if there were more of the single-player situations coming. And a big reason why those were asked was because of the way that the Article 5 scenario ended. And for those of you that haven't played it, again, I'm not going to spoil what occurred, but it ended in such a cliffhanger, in such a cool way, that those of us that really enjoy that kind of content were kind of on the edge of our seats going, there's gotta be more, come on. And it just sort of ended right there. I don't know if the original plan was to maybe go in a different direction with this, or if the original plan was to have some episodic content over time, maybe some DLC things would launch. They said right now, that's not going to be what's happening. And that's really a shame, because it looks like it's just priming you for more. And I really hope that they reconsider the plans to not put in more of these situations, because that was just cool stuff. And I'm sure it would be hard to book Angela Bassett again to get another voiceover and to have all these fancy cutscenes rendered. But even if they went with simpler cutscenes and somebody that was, not as expensive to book talent-wise to do some, quick DLC, I mean, the situations aren't hard to make. You're using the existing levels that are already in the game. You're using the AI from the terrorist hunt. It's modified a little bit. It behaves a little differently, and the levels are laid out a little differently with some, things rearranged a little bit. But it's not like you're making completely new levels for them or something like that. So I do hope that they would consider maybe making some more and revisiting that concept. Something really exciting that was hinted at was someone asked if there was going to be new or different weapon attachments. And they confirmed that this is something they are talking about right now. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean it's definitely happening? No. But they're talking about it. Their wheels are turning on this, right? So how cool would it be to see new weapon attachments coming? Now, this could take the form of things that are just cosmetically different. Maybe we're just talking about, instead of the green triangle on the reflex sight, maybe the sights have a different shape to them, or maybe they're different colors, or maybe it's different styles, like, the grip is shaped differently, or the scope itself has a different shape or look or appearance to it, to something completely different, like new attachment categories that we haven't even seen yet, like, maybe match grade triggers, or reinforced upper receiver bolts, or any number of different things. We don't know what this exactly means yet, but new or different weapon attachments are being talked about, and that's pretty exciting. New skins are also coming, and this is confirmed. They said, yes, more new skins are coming. So what that looks like, we'll see, but more are coming. He was asked if global leaderboards were something that were being looked into. They said, yeah, it's on their wish list. It's definitely something that they'd like to do, but that doesn't mean it's definite. It's just something that they want and on their wish list. So a lot of people asked about the "you've been spotted" mechanism on the camera system. Whenever you tag somebody and that message pops up, many people feel that just shouldn't be in the game and it's just bad, it should be taken out. And when it was asked about, they replied with a rather weird message. They said that they were going to answer that with the communication for the vision of all the game's playlists, and that would be released this month and would answer this question. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. It means that the subject is going to be addressed, and soon, but no hint as to in which direction. I don't know if it's something like, yeah, we're going to yank out the message entirely, or no, we're keeping it in and here's why, or it'll be in for casual but not for ranked, or no idea. Character customization between rounds was asked about. So this would be the option for, while you're waiting in the menus, to not have to back all the way out and then swap out attachments or skins for your guns as you're sitting there just kind of waiting for a room to be matched up. The devs said that this is a wish list item. They're aware of the fact that players want this, but it's not something that's a huge priority for them right now. It's a wish list item for future improvements. If they can get to it, they will. They're aware of people wanting it, so we'll see on that one. Here's another definite. It's kind of a small thing, but yet it's also very cool, and it's going to be something that's going to impact you because you're going to see it all the time. And that's people who were commenting on how the blood color has somehow turned this Some people say it's orange. Some people say it's like neon red. I don't know which color you want to call it, but it is definitely bright. I kind of call it cartoon blood. It's just way too bright and just not realistic at all. They said the blood color getting changed from what it was before was an unintentional side effect of something, and it is being fixed in the next update. So in a week or two, we will have more realistic, non-cartoon blood. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. It's small, and yet it impacts you because you see it all the time. So somebody asked about team uniforms. Before in other Rainbow Six titles, you'd have like a team that, you'd have one team wearing blue camo and the other team wearing tan camo or something to that effect. And they said no plans for team uniforms, but they're looking at ways to distinguish friend from foe without breaking immersion. Now, I don't know exactly what that means. I would think that, for instance, the white silhouette outlines kind of got a chilly reception from a lot of players, and so I think that would be something that would break immersion, so they're probably looking at a way to do this without breaking immersion. I'm not exactly sure what that would be, though. So we'll see. I mean, the operators already kind of have, like the name and the icon floating above their head, so what else could you do if you're not going to give them team uniforms? But they're thinking about something, and we don't know what it is yet. They said they will be communicating future plans regarding team killing and friendly fire issues as well in the future, since that's sort of related to the confusion of who's on what team. A map creator was also asked about for giving the community the ability to create their own maps. Here's an interesting answer. They said it's not in current plans. Well, why is that an interesting answer? Because it wasn't an outright no, we're not doing that, no, that can't be done. I would assume in a game as complex as Siege that they wouldn't give us those tools. Siege is the only first-person shooter that's ever been made for the Anvil Next engine. And so they were kind of breaking ground already in the development of these maps. And then you mix in the destruction where you can blow everything up, and then the ways that you can kind of like break map design by doing destruction in odd places that just wind up making a map completely exploitable. You would think that there would just be an outright like, nope, never going to happen kind of an answer. And they said, not in current plans. So it's a no, but it's a no with like a 1% chance of, but maybe those current plans could one day change. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naively optimistic here. So that was interesting. Somebody also wanted to know about shooting out lights, kind of like you can do in Splinter Cell, and you would create these dark areas and then use that in conjunction with like underbarrel flashlight attachments, or, some people even wonder about like night vision or something like that. Maybe one team would have night vision and the other team would have flashlights or what have you. They responded with what I think is a really honest answer. They said they like the idea, but it's too demanding for GPU performance, and it has really strong design implications. I can't argue with that answer. Well, I mean, what they're basically saying is, that's really cool, but it would take too many resources out of the game, and it would change the game in ways that they would have to kind of like redesign the structure of it to accommodate for, so it's just not practical. You can't get much more honest of an answer than that, and I think I agree on both those points. Somebody wanted to know about clan tags, and they said they're working on something similar to this. And that's similar in quotations, which means it's not exactly clan tags. So we'll see what they have lined up in the future for that one. Someone else also wanted to know about custom lobbies for Terrorist Hunt, if that could be coming in the future. And they said no. Now, at this point in time, the AMA was kind of winding down and coming to a close, so their answers were much more short, without as much explanation. So it was just a no. I hope that this is something that they'll consider in the future, and here's why. If you go into the matchmaking settings, you can change what comes up in your Terrorist Hunt playlist by altering these preferences. You can turn off like bomb defusal or turn off a certain map or whatever, so it doesn't come up in your rotation. But when you get a squad of 5 people together and they all have certain preferences on or off and they're going to cross over, these become preferences and not, die hard, nope, you can't do that. Because what if 2 people get together and one of them has one half of the list turned off and the other has the other half of the list turned off? The game just won't play? Well, no, it's not going to do that. So these are preferences, but they don't allow you to necessarily specifically tailor the game experience to what you want. So here's why custom lobbies would be really cool for Terrorist Hunt. You could define the parameters of your experience, not just pick which map or mode you're doing. Something that would be really cool would be to define the number of waves you'd have in the protect the hostage mode, for instance. Go ahead and crank that up to 6 waves or 7 waves of enemies, or increase the number of enemies per wave. Maybe going into bomb defusal mode and turning off infinite respawns for the enemies. Of course, you want them to still be infinitely spawning to keep up the pressure on the defusal process, but before the defusal and in between the defusals to maybe turn that off so that you have more of a a tactical experience instead of a rushed, pressured experience, even during the non-defusal times. Or even look at the player versus player custom lobbies as kind of your template too, where you can adjust things there, like the amount of health that you have or the amount of damage that you can take, friendly fire parameters, things like that. Well, if you could do that in a custom terrorist hunt lobby, you could also do the things like the friendly fire and the amount of damage you could take, but also maybe the amount of damage that the enemy AI could take, the amount of accuracy that they have, or maybe even the enemy density that's present. And the reason that that would be good is that currently they don't offer you a scalable experience. The terrorist hunt is set up for a 5-man squad. So even if you play with 2 people, you're still getting the 5-man difficulty on a 2-man experience. And if you're playing Lone Wolf, you're getting an experience that is 5 times harder than it should be. And their targets were a 40% failure rate for terrorist hunt on a 5-man squad for normal. And for hard and realistic, it goes even further down. Realistic is only a 10% success rate by design with a 5-man team. And then playing that solo and the experience doesn't change for you, being able to go in and dial some of that down, say I want to hop on with my one friend, but I just want to lower the enemy density or lower the enemy accuracy by 5% or something. Now you say, well, what about the experience points that you get for that? Well, you handle it the same way you handle the experience points for a custom lobby in a PvP match. What do you do with that when you play the game and you have no friendly fire and you have higher than normal health and you adjust all those parameters for a PvP lobby? How you handle it there? Handle it here the same way. There's no real justification to doing it for only player versus player, but not for terrorist hunt, because I would argue there's as much, if not more, need to do a custom terrorist hunt lobby, just because if you play Lone Wolf or just one other person, you're still getting that 5-person experience by design, and being able to dial that into a custom experience to make it more palatable for 2 people or the Lone Wolf to still have an enjoyable experience would be kind of optimal. It was asked about customizing attachments for recruit weapons, and they said that that does not fit the design direction for the operator system. I'm so bummed to hear this. So if you use a recruit, you're always going to be stuck using iron sights. It would be so cool to set up a recruit so that, at least their guns could have a red dot or some kind of an attachment on them. And they said, nope, that violates their vision for what they want to do with the operators. I'm actually going to disagree with them on this. Yeah, people might pick recruits more often if they could customize their attachments, but maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe they like the option of having the grenade and the breaching charge or whatever. It was also asked if the operator weapon selection could be expanded to be more like the recruit selection, where any operator could choose any weapon from within their group. So for instance, Sledge could still have access to the AR-33 because Thatcher has it and they're both in the SAS. Things like that. They said that that would also kind of violate their vision for the operator system. So again, I don't necessarily agree, but that's the call that they made on that one. Colorblindness support was asked about, and they said that this is a wish list item for the future. And that's good. It doesn't affect me personally, but I'm glad to see for those that are affected by it that they're aware of it, and it's something that they want to address if they're able to down the road. The last thing that was asked about was randomly placed cameras. And I think the reason that this was asked about was people would feel like if the cameras were always in the same spot, you could just kind of steamroll right through them all, take them all out, and the defenders would be completely blinded. They wanted to know if they would have maybe multiple spawn points around the map and the cameras weren't always in the same place, if there was a way to do that. What they responded with is that limiting randomness is a PvP design decision, and that includes camera placement. I mean, this has got to be a thing that definitely caters to more the competitive concept that they're trying to go for. When you have randomization, that ruins the competitive experience because you want that to be skill-based, and randomization will bring luck into it as to whether or not something is in the same place or an optimal position. I get that from a competitive angle. I'm not a competitive player, so I don't personally sympathize with it, but I can see the argument even if I'm not necessarily in favor of it. It'd be cool if they could have some randomization factors, and then when you turn on your esports rules, that those would then become disabled. Again, I get the argument. My individual preference would be that there could be more randomized factors even in the player versus player experience, but whether I would rather have it that way or not, I get why they did it. So that was a really cool experience for the developers to interact with the community and for us to ask them questions and them to give us some insights into what we can look forward to. We've got a new title update coming here in another week or two. They're working on a lot of the issues that we're interested in. Some of the things they're not able to commit to or talk about yet, and that, of course, is par for the course. But we have a lot of things to look forward to, and I'm really excited about the ongoing monthly goal of having these updates coming and just keeping the game fresh and addressing our concerns on a regular long-term commitment. That post-launch support is so key to keeping a game going in this way. We also know we're going to have the new Bartlett University map to look forward to sometime in the indeterminate future, and we've also got the Black Ice DLC coming out in January. That's going to be a new map and a couple of new operators, and maybe even some more surprises too. So there's a lot happening in Siege right now. As announced in my last video, I'm currently running a promotion through the month of December to go ahead and give away one copy of an Xbox One download for Rainbow Six Siege. And all you have to do to participate and win is go ahead and subscribe to the channel. New subscribers, go ahead and type the word recruit in all capital letters in the comments section down below and give me why you would like to have your own copy of Rainbow Six Siege. I don't want to leave out any of the veteran subscribers that have been with me for a while too, so if you want to have a chance to win your copy of the game, then go ahead and type the word in all capitals, veteran, in the comments below, and likewise let me know why you'd like a copy of the game. Just before Christmas, I'm going to select a winner from one of those two groups to have their very own copy of Siege on a digital download for Xbox One. So if you want your shot, make sure to like and subscribe to enter now. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.